Welcome to Cheetah Secrets. Let's dive into today's story. I can still picture that Thursday evening clearly, not because anything dramatic was happening, but because it was a kind of night that felt almost too ordinary. The house was quiet in its usual way, like it had its own slow heartbeat. Dinner was done, the sink was clean, and I had settled onto the couch in my usual spot. That was life with Megan, steady, predictable, peaceful. Not joyful, not miserable, just steady. We'd been married a decade. We weren't the type who argued loudly or slammed doors. We lived in a small place on the outskirts of town, worked in completely different fields, and crossed paths each evening as if following a well-rehearsed script. She handled operations for a mid-sized tech company, and I oversaw warehouse crews for a regional supply business. Separate worlds, shared routines, breakfast together, separate commutes, evenings on autopilot. If you had asked me back then, I would have said our marriage was fine, like a novel you keep reading even though the plot never surprises you. That night, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. Megan's name appeared. I expected something simple like, "Did you lock the door?" or "I'll be home soon." Instead, the text said, "Going on a trip with my boss back Sunday." No explanation, no reason, no context. Just that. For a moment, I honestly thought I misread it. A trip? She hadn't mentioned anything about traveling. I kept staring at the message, waiting for a second text to explain. Nothing arrived. I typed back, "What trip?" No reply. It was 6:14 p.m. Her office usually shut down at 6 sharp. I called her, but it went straight to voicemail. Something in me tightened. Not rage, not fear. More like a long-dormant instinct kicking awake. A voice inside whispered, "Pay attention." This wasn't a sudden work assignment. This was a lie disguised as an update. I opened my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was searching for, but I knew there was something to find. 10 minutes. That's all it took for curiosity to transform into certainty. By 6:24, Megan had no idea the ground beneath her had already shifted. I checked our shared accounts. She had used a laptop earlier that week, so her login was still active. I went through her recent browser history, not sure what I expected. I didn't have to search long. A flight booking. Purchased that same morning. 2 passengers. My eyes froze on the second name. Thomas Reed, her boss. No company billing. No corporate travel code. The payment was from her personal card. I didn't react, not outwardly. I simply leaned back and let the truth assemble itself piece by piece. She wasn't traveling for work. She was traveling, period. The kind of trip people don't announce until they're caught. At 6:27, I made my first call to Caroline Holt, a divorce attorney I knew from my brother's custody case. When she answered, she immediately asked, "Are you safe?" "Yes." I told her everything. She listened and then said calmly, "Document everything. Don't confront her. Don't send emotional messages. Screenshot it all. Call me in the morning." Clear. Direct. No sympathy. No fluff. At 6:30, I check her email. A forwarded hotel reservation from her boss's assistant. 1 king suite. 3 nights, supposedly for conference preparation. I opened her banking app next. 2 recent ride receipts caught my attention, both to a cafe nowhere near her office. Same day, 2 Fridays in a row. Those were the Fridays she had claimed to have team meetings. As I sat gathering evidence, the house felt different, not heavier, just honest. At 6:32, I called someone who owed me a favor, a guy named Freddie who sometimes handled contract work for Megan's company. I asked one question. Anyone from her department traveling this weekend? He answered immediately. No trips at all. That's all I needed to hear. At 6:34, I reread her message. She thought she was sending a quick update. Without realizing it, she'd handed me a confession, and she had no idea what was coming next. Confronting her would only warn her to hide evidence. Caroline's words echoed in my mind. Document. Stay calm. Stay quiet. So I did. She chose a trip with her boss. She was about to face consequences she never saw coming. I didn't sleep, not because I was hurt, but because I was strategizing. Every move needed to be precise. At 8:12 p.m., I drafted a short, factual email to Megan's HR department. No accusations, no dramatic language, just dates, receipts, and the hotel booking. I ended it with, I believe company funds and time may be misused. Please verify. 30 seconds after sending it, they replied, we are opening an internal review immediately. Thank you for the information. I leaned back, letting it sink in. Megan thought she was slipping away for a secret weekend. She had no idea her employer now had her full itinerary before her plane even touched down. At 9:30, I forwarded everything to Caroline. Her response came quickly. This is enough. File tonight. I'll finalize everything tomorrow. No courtroom chaos. No back and forth. Just a quiet end beginning the same night Megan started her getaway. Around midnight, she sent a text. Talk to you later. I didn't respond. The next morning, HR requested clarifications. Caroline handled it all. By afternoon, Megan's work email was suspended for policy review. She had no idea. While she sipped coffee and scrolled through social media, her career unraveled step by step. She left for a trip. She didn't know it would be her last funded by the company. When she returned Sunday night, I was sitting in the kitchen, not hiding, not nervous, just waiting for her to walk into the reality she created. Dustin. Her voice echoed through the house, tense and sharper than usual that I didn't greet her. I wanted her to walk into the truth on her own. She stepped into the living room and came to a dead stop when her eyes landed on the folder waiting on the table. What is this? She asked, her voice tight. I moved toward the coffee table at a steady pace, set the folder down in front of her, and said quietly, sit. She swallowed hard and did as told. I opened the folder and pushed the first sheet in her direction. Internal investigation notice. Employee, Megan Carter. The color drained from her face instantly. Dustin, what did you do? I didn't do anything, I replied evenly. I simply reported what you did. She shook her head wildly. This is ridiculous. Thomas said none of this would affect us. He said, I lifted a hand. Stop. Don't embarrass both of us by pretending this is a misunderstanding. You booked a king suite with your boss. That's not a clerical error. Her gaze flicked back and forth across the documents, panic rising beneath her skin. Please, let me explain. Explain what? I asked. The lie? The disappearing act? Or the part where you walked out the door with him while pretending it was work? Tears gathered in her eyes, but she held them back. Megan never cried first. She strategized. She leaned closer, speaking in that soft, practiced tone she always used when she wanted to control the situation. I made a mistake. Dustin, I felt lonely. You've been distant. I didn't mean for it to become. Megan, I cut in. You didn't stumble into this. You made a choice. Don't turn it into something I caused. Her hand shook as I pushed the next set of papers toward her, divorce filings already stamped with a submission date and time. She stared at them as if they were written in some language she didn't recognize. You're ending our marriage over a single weekend, she whispered. No, I said. I'm ending it because you destroyed it long before the plane left the runway. For the first time that night, she had nothing to say. The fallout hit immediately. Monday morning struck her harder than anything I could have said. She called while I was at work. I let it ring. She called again. And again. Then a text came. They suspended me. Dustin, please answer. I didn't. By noon, another message arrived, this time frantic and rambling. Thomas got fired. HR questioned everything. They have all the documents. Why would you do this? Please talk to me. I didn't reply. Her own actions were speaking louder than anything I could send back. That afternoon, I met with Caroline. She handed me a stack of neatly arranged documents. Her misconduct is documented clearly, Caroline said. She has no grounds to request support. She'll fight, but she won't win. Good. I said, not out of triumph, but finality. By evening, quiet whispers had already floated through her company. Nothing public, but enough. That night, her sister Laura called. Dustin, she told me everything. She's been crying nonstop. She says you're shutting her out. She lost her job. She needs time. She can take all the time she wants, I said. But the marriage is finished. Laura sighed heavily. She said you blindsided her. No, I replied. She blindsided herself. 2 days later, Megan moved out. 2 suitcases, a box of clothes, silence in every step. As she stepped out the door, she whispered, "Please don't let this erase everything we had." It already reshaped everything we became, I said. She lingered in the doorway, eyes red. "I didn't think you'd actually leave me." "You left first," I answered. "You just assumed I'd stay." She turned away because she couldn't argue with the truth. That night, she sent one last message. "I can fix this if you let me." I set my phone face down and didn't answer. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted rescue. And I was finished saving someone who lit the match herself. The divorce moved faster than I expected, probably because there was nothing left to fight about. No shouting, no courtroom tension, no midnight debates, just facts. Caroline lined out the terms. Megan keeps her personal items. You retain the house, both vehicles, and the savings. No support. The evidence removes that possibility. Send it, I told her. The meeting. 2 days later, we sat across from Megan and her lawyer, Richard Evans, in a quiet conference room. Megan looked smaller than I had ever seen her. A month earlier, she was striding through airports with confidence. Now she could barely grip a pen. Richard cleared his throat. "My client believes these terms are severe." Caroline didn't blink. "Your client misrepresented a personal trip as business-related, resulting in termination and a breach of marital trust. Dustin is being generous." Megan looked at me. "Dustin, please. I lost my job. I'm staying with Laura. I'm trying to rebuild. Don't take everything." "I'm not taking anything," I said. "You gave it up." She flinched because she knew it was true. Richard whispered something to her, but she ignored him. "Do you really want to end 10 years like this?" she asked quietly. "We ended 10 years the moment you booked that room," I said. "This is just a paperwork." Silence settled over the room. Eventually, Megan signed. Her hand trembled the entire time. When she put the pen down, she whispered, "I didn't think you'd actually follow through." I stood. "You thought loyalty meant blindness." Tears streamed down her cheek silently. "What am I supposed to do now?" "Start over," I said. "Same as me." She broke down then. No manipulation, no controlled tears, just a reality crashing down on her. The job gone, the home gone, the marriage gone, all tied to one weekend she assumed would never be questioned. When the meeting ended, she walked past me slowly, as though waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. Some endings don't need final speeches. Just a door closing behind you. Life after. The house was quieter afterward, but it wasn't the heavy silence from before. I could breathe in it. No secrets lurking, no second-guessing late-night texts. I settled into simple routines. Work, gym, home. I cooked for myself. I kept everything in order. And for the first time in a long time, my days felt light. Meanwhile, Megan stayed with her sister. Word spread through a professional circle quickly. Companies stay away from whispers, especially about policy violations. Interviews dried up. Projects she once bragged about were reassigned. Her career didn't just take a hit, it collapsed inward. Laura called again. "She's struggling," she said quietly. "I hope she finds stability," I replied. And I meant it. I didn't want her ruined. I just refused to rebuild her world again. Weeks later, one morning, while making coffee, I received a message from an unknown number. "I'm sorry, Dustin. I ruined everything." I stared at it for a moment, then deleted it without saving the contact. No anger, no satisfaction, just acceptance. Not every story needs a sequel. I sat in the same spot where I'd seen her first message, the one that started it all, going on a trip with my boss. 10 minutes later, her life unraveled, career gone, reputation shaken, marriage ended. Not from revenge, not from spite, but because I finally stopped carrying the weight she placed on me. People sometimes ask if I'm afraid to trust again. I'm not. I simply understand what trust actually looks like now. It doesn't hide behind late meetings. It doesn't send vague messages. It doesn't pretend. Real trust stands firm, even in the quiet. And now, so do I. Thank you for watching.